Hey everyone, John here for the worst comic podcast ever. And I want to welcome you back to another episode of
Treat Yourself.
Treat Yourself. Now, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about 3 television shows. Now, I love TV. It's sort of one of my guilty pleasures. And so, every once in a while, I like to treat myself to a little bit of television. We're going to be talking about 3 shows, all that are available on Netflix. Which shows are they? Check it out, coming up right after this.
You're part of the Treat Yourself team now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody, just to let you know, a study in a recent Australian Journal of Sports Medicine found that for every hour of television that you watch after the age of 25, that you lose approximately 22 minutes of your life. The good news is, those 22 minutes were on the back end of your life, and who wants those years anyway? And the other aspect is that we're watching these shows on Netflix. They cut out the commercials. Those are usually about 22 minutes per episode anyway, so I figure basically you're coming out as a wash. All right, the first show I'm going to be talking about is called Parallels. Now, Parallels was developed for Netflix, and originally it was not as a movie, which is what it's billed as, but instead as a pilot for a television show. And that's clear in which you watch it. It's 83 minutes long, so it feels like you're watching a little bit of a shorter movie, but at the end there's so many little plot points and everything that don't end up coming back, and the end kind of leaves as an unsatisfying cliffhanger that you really just feel like you just watched the pilot for a television show, but there's nothing else to watch. The other part of this is the special effects, they're all right. Number one. Number two, it's basically just Sliders. If you love the show Sliders, this is basically that show. It's a group of people, they go to alternate worlds. There's a building, they go into the building, and every 36 hours the building shifts to another reality, and these, I'll call them alternauts, basically travel from alternate reality to alternate reality. We get to see, I think, 3 realities in the pilot episode, but because that's the only episode, it really doesn't explore the full range of what alternate realities could possibly do for you in terms of storytelling. So, it's all right. I'm going to give it maybe 1 Treat Yourself out of 5. It's a little thing, you can watch it, it's not bad, not great. I just didn't really feel like it went much of anywhere. The second one I want to talk about is a show called Ascension. Now, Ascension was initially developed for the Sci-Fi Channel, and it came as a 3-night event, so 3 long episodes. For Netflix, they've broken it down into 6 43-minute episodes, and the basic story revolves around an effort in 1963 to launch a spaceship to another star. And that's what you're watching. You're watching the crew of this ship. They're on this spacecraft. It's a generational ship, so these aren't the people who originally launched. And they're getting close to the halfway point. Now, they mistakenly say the halfway point is the point of no return, the point where you couldn't flip around and go back to where you started. That's actually wrong, because they say they've been accelerating for the whole way. Well, if you've been accelerating for 50 years, you would have to decelerate for 50 years to actually just stop, which would put you at your destination. So in fact, the point of no return that they say should be what we would call the turnover point, the point where they would flip the ship around and then start slowing down for the destination. You don't want to accelerate all the way there because you'll shoot right past it. But hey, fine, whatever. The thing that's cool about this one is that the whole premise of us being able to build a generational spacecraft in 1960s is crazy, no way. The cool thing is that in and of itself is somewhat of a ruse, and then once you find that part out, there's another ruse on top of that in terms of the true purpose. So I was incredibly impressed with the way that all came together. The effects are okay, but the acting is fantastic. The drama there, not only the political drama within the ship, but also the drama of this whole secret mission that's hidden to everybody. I enjoyed it very much. It is those 6 episodes as far as right now. There's nothing else, so it does end at a point where you'd want to see more of that. It reminds me a little bit of what they did with the Battlestar Galactica reboot, in that there was sort of a pilot they didn't initially say that was going to be a part of a series definitively, and then they did, and I think all of us who are science fiction fans are glad they did. And so Ascension, Definitely better for me than Parallels, but not as good as the show I'm going to be talking about in a second. It's also got a lot of, Ascension also has a lot of familiar faces, actors you've seen on other shows and everything. I enjoyed it, and for that amount of time, it's a good show. All right, the last show that I want to talk about is called Sense8. Now, Sense8 was created for Netflix, and it really takes full advantage of the whole Netflix delivery system, and that it's not directly episodic where every episode is exactly the same length. In fact, there are 12 episodes, but they vary in length from 67 minutes to 45 minutes. They basically knew where they wanted to cut the show for an episode, and they didn't worry about trying to add 10 more minutes of filler or to cut out 5 minutes of really important stuff. They put in each episode what fit in that episode. So what's the basic deal about Sense8? And it's listed as the word sense and the number 8, even though they refer to the people in the show as Sense8. So Sense8 is about 8 people, and they live all over the world. There's one in Chicago, one in San Francisco, Mexico City, Seoul, Africa, Germany, Iceland, and India. And each one of these people are very different. They're going through things in their own individual lives, usually often cases, something stressful, just like we all do. And they're very different. There's a mix of men and women. There's some who are different sexual identities. There's one who is trans. And one of the things that I really like about this is that the characters are so different. There's a variety, and they even make a point about why there would be a variety of people and not just have them all be the same. And for a lot of the beginning, we get little teases about what they can do. It turns out they have the ability to interact mentally with each other, to be able to sense what's happening with the other people, and also to communicate essentially telepathically across these large distances. They're also all the same age. They were born on the same day. And we don't know why this happens exactly or why these 8 people, but we get to be very interested in their lives. One of the things I love about this is each of the 8 characters have people around them. Maybe it is a lover, a parent, a partner that they work with, but other people that they relate to. And those other characters are totally fleshed out. We get to meet them and interact with them, and they become very important. So it's not just the 8 interacting with the other 8, but there's also the interactions they have with everybody else. They can actually draw on the skills of other people. So if one of them knows martial arts or how to shoot a gun or how to drive a car, those are skills that they can actually borrow from each other to use in their own lives, although they don't quite know how that all works. This is definitely a show for mature audiences. There is some violence, sometimes a little bit graphic. There's sexuality. You're going to have to be comfortable seeing nude women and nude men. That is going to happen on this show. You're going to have to be okay with seeing men kiss each other. That's going to happen. And so when I say it's for mature audiences, I don't just mean mature in terms of age, but I also mean mature in their ability to be comfortable with other kinds of people and to see them expressing themselves, to see them expressing how much they love each other. And that is something that I think a lot of people won't be able to handle. In 12 episodes, we see the characters go through an amazing array of things, both simple issues and larger issues. And one of my favorite parts about it, not just the pacing, the music, the cinematography is crazy. They actually shoot this show in all of these cities around the world, and the shooting schedule had to be insane for them to go through and go to Iceland to shoot, and go to Germany and shoot, and go to Mexico City. Oh, the shooting in India is absolutely gorgeous. But besides all that, we also see, probably my favorite part are the quiet little moments where one of the Sense8s is talking to another Sense8, and maybe one of them is going through a dramatic issue in their lives, and essentially they draw the consciousness of that other person in because they need it to support them in whatever they're going through. Those quiet moments of connection, just one-on-one, are probably my single favorite part of this show. Although there are a lot of other parts dealing with the martial arts sequences where the woman from Seoul, South Korea, where she just kicks everybody's butt. Those are awesome. She is amazing. And so Sense8 is a show, it's 646 total minutes, so close to 11 hours of viewing. And so I cannot recommend this show enough. I love it, and the good news is it has been picked up for a second season. So there was a little question as to whether it would, not because it hasn't gotten high ratings, but because of the shooting schedule and going around the world. I'm sure it was a high cost production, but I was thrilled. Once I started watching the show, I could not stop watching it. So Sense8, I cannot give it a high enough ratings. 1,000,000 treat yourselves if you feel like this is a show that you can handle. If you do, let me know how you like it. I loved it. And let's get behind it and chat about this show, all right? Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of
Treat yourself.
And we will see you next time. On behalf of the Worst Comic Podcast Ever, thanks everybody. Check us out on Facebook, Worst Comic Podcast Ever. Be sure to check out our Twitter, WCPE Ever, as well as our website, worstcomicpodcastever.com. All right, thanks everybody. See you next time. Bye.